Hello, 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 hello. Hello, good evening. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. For those of you that are able to make it. So this is going to be another mentorship session. My name is Tommie Edwards. I'm the CEO here at Tech1M, and we have an amazing guest in here today that is going to be taking us on um, all things information security. So this is like a tech career guide in starting a career in information security. As usual, if you guys have any questions, remember this is a group mentorship session where it's you need to ask the questions are not really going to be from me. It's going to be mainly from you guys asking as many questions as you would like. And I'm going to introduce our guest very soon. And as usual, we try to bring you guys seasoned professionals who have done that, who are experts within their fields. And this is your opportunity to be able to talk to them and ask them very vivid questions that you probably wouldn't have been able to ask anyone. So please don't be shy. Try as much as possible to put your questions in the Q&A area so that it's easy for us to find it and it's easy for us to put that on the screen. So today, before we begin, it would be nice to know where you guys are calling from, you guys are joining us from. So we have a bit of context on who is joining and where they're joining from. So please put that in the chat. And as well, you could also give some emojis for me to know that you can actually hear me. I have a feeling you can, but just to be 100% sure. All right, fantastic. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. Okay, okay. So, hi, good to see some faces that we saw in the last one back. Anita, Yemi, Kingsley, great to have you guys here. Remy, good to have you here as well. So, tell your friends within the community. This is an opportunity for them to speak to a seasoned professional about all things information security. All right. So, Yemi, you're joining us from Oshogbo, Nigeria. Amazing. Oh, Dami as well. Are you guys neighbors? Oshogbo, Nigeria. It's nice to have you here. So any UK people in the house, Dubai, nice. It's nice to have you here. Okay, so it feels like we at least we're getting a bit of mix. All right, so we have Ibadan, Nigeria, Akure. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, fantastic. So nice to have all of you in here. It's going to be an interesting session as usual. And our guest this evening is Kolade Oladejo. And I'm going to let Kolade introduce himself in a minute. But before then, I'm just going to let you know a little bit about what I know about this particular individual. So, Kolade is someone that is extremely diligent at what he does. He's a seasoned professional. He goes after whatever he wants, and he has worked for the top companies within the United Kingdom and beyond. So he doesn't really he's not someone that has a lot of spare time because he's always working in one area or the other. And so to have him here today is a privilege, and you guys should take full advantage of that. So Kolade, thanks for being here today, and thanks for honoring our invitation. This is the Tech1M clan. Kindly introduce yourself. Let them know who you are, what you do. We'll begin with the whole question and answer session with me starting with a question first.
All right, good. Thank you for having me. My name's Kolade, like Tumi rightly mentioned. And I like where the audiences are from because I grew up in Nigeria myself, so I'll probably be able to bring in a bit of context from Nigeria just to to define where I started from, how far I've come, and where I am at the moment. I work as information security consultant, mainly for financial institutions in the UK. So I've worked for most of the investment banks you could have heard about, Barclays, Lloyd's, NatWest Markets in the UK, the US. I've worked for, CLS, which is a settlement firm, settles, one of the biggest trade settlement firms in the world. I've done some gigs with government agencies as well. I have one that I run as a consultant as well with, I can't mention names for for security reasons, but I do one for one of the nuclear agencies in the UK at the moment as well. So I've worked in that kind of sphere. And what I intend to do when I go invited to this program is just to, I think, rather not to bore you guys, I might just be able to tell you a story of myself, where I came from, or I go to where I am, and the path I took. So that might be able to create a good context so you understand everything. Then, I like the idea of you asking questions because it helps me just, target my responses to what you need to know. As far as I know as well, I don't think I know everything, but I can take questions. If I don't know it, I can write it down, get your email, and ping it to you if it's something I don't know off the top of my head. So I'm more than happy to do that. Is that okay to me? Can I tell a story of my journey?
Absolutely.
Is that all right, or do you want to do it?
Guys, is that okay? Use your emojis. So it's going to share a story on how he got to where he is. Is this something you want to hear? Use your emojis for me to know that. All right, fantastic. The consensus is yes. So
Okay,
let's.
good.
Can you
So
hear him? Actually, can you guys hear him? Because Claudia has a very cool voice. Can you?
no, is it? Can you not hear me?
I can
I'm
hear
happy
you.
to talk louder if you want.
All right,
Can
cool.
you
They
guys
can.
hear me as well? They
Yes,
can.
they can
Okay, good.
hear you. All right, brilliant.
All right. All right. So again, like I said, I like the sound of Oshobo, Akure, because I grew up in Oyo town. If anybody knows Oyo, it's not your state. It's not Ibadan. I grew up in a small town called Oyo town. So that's just to create a context of where I came from. And again, just to set the potentials, the possibility that anything is possible. Because right now I work for the biggest investment firms in the world from Oyo town. Yeah. Again, I went to Lautech, which is in Ogbomoso. So again, I schooled in one of the, it's a fantastic school as much as I could, but again, it's not an Harvard, it's not Oxford, and I work with people from those kind of places at the moment. So I went to Lautech. I studied electronics engineering, and I graduated. It's been a while. I'm feeling a bit old. 2005. And while I was in school, my brother told me about CCNA, so my path into getting to where I am now, it's network engineering. So CCNA is just Cisco into network engineering. I go into that, and my first job out of university was as a network engineer. So I got to do network engineering, did CCNA, did CCNP. I'm saying that again to create a context of information security in information security is broken into large sub-segments. So it's more or less covers every area of IT. So whichever area of IT you are in at the moment, it's relevant to information security. Because for most of us, there's a background in just one aspect of IT, then we build our knowledge to, we take the knowledge we have in that single space as a strength into information security and cover other domains. So an example is I did network engineering. So the first part of information security that I got to was network security by default. So for someone else, it could be software development, it could be a programmer. When the person wants to get into information security, an easier path would just be, secure software development lifecycle, securing that aspect of it. Someone else would be database management. Someone else would be, I don't know, identity and access management. Someone else would just be UI, UX developer, that kind of. Someone else will be business analysis, project management, and his approach into it might go through GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. So all those kind of different roles exist within information security. So it's big enough for any part of IT you are. You just have to know the domain you're good with, enter into the industry with that, then start expanding your reach, your understanding, so you're able to cover more and more. Because again, the more you know, the more you understand, then the more useful you are in information security. So I did that, worked as a network engineering for a while. Then I thought I wanted to do something a bit different, and I heard about cybersecurity then, which was way back then. It wasn't as popular. That was like 2008, and I got the information that I could write an exam, which is CISSP. I didn't have any mentor per se, but I just wanted to just get my feet in. So I wrote CISSP. CISSP then I did it in Philips Consulting in UBA Marina in Lagos, and it was 250 questions for 6 hours. I think it's one of the most hectic exams I've ever written up to date. For 6 hours straight, Philips Consulting, 250 questions, and it was handwritten. then it's being done on computer, but when I did it was handwritten. And what CISSP basically entails is what I've explained initially. It covers 10 domains. So those 10 domains, there's something we say again in CISSP, which is it's inch deep but mile wide. In essence, I don't need to know everything about database management. I don't need to know everything about software development. I don't need to know everything about security architecture, but I need to know just enough that I understand if I'm speaking to an SME what I need to know, I understand where it's coming from, and I'm able to actually secure the organization, the infrastructure, the data involved for the organization I work with. So it covers everything, which makes it quite broad and wide was just an inch deep. So I'm not an SME in database management. I'm not an SME in identity access management. I'm not an SME in software development. But I just know enough to speak to an SME in those fields to understand what needs to be done. There are frameworks, there are regulations, there are everything that exists and are just publicly accessible on the internet that used to guide me, direct me with experience as well to know what to do to secure each of those different environments I would be working in. So I did that. I did CISSP. Again, I couldn't get any job in the in Nigeria then because I stuck to my network engineering because the opportunities do not just really exist then way back then. I don't know what's like now, but I'm sure it's a lot more than it used to be. Then 2010, I relocated to the UK and I relocated to UK to actually further my knowledge in network engineering. So I came to the UK to write my CCIE. And while I was in the UK, I was doing my professional exams, in like an institute, computer institute in Wembley. Then I met a guy that spoke to me. We just rubbed mind, a random Asian guy, and he just asked me what I was doing, what my aim is. Then while we were having conversation, he found out I've written CISSP. CISSP was one of the most difficult exams then. So he was shocked and said, "You've written it?" I said, "Yes." He said, "You've passed it?" I said, "Yes." So what are you doing with network engineering? Said, that's about everything I know. Said, okay, no. You know what we do? This is what you do. Stop this CCIE. This CCIE will just make you a big white elephant in the network engineering field. Let's diversify a little bit. So move from network engineering to network security. And instead of using the money you've paid to study for CCIE, start studying network security, which is more or less configuration of firewalls, configuration of VPNs, which is the security aspect of networking that would actually eventually bring me into information security. So I hope I've made sense in that way. I've tried to link what CISSP is. It involves different aspects of IT. I've only just knew only one domain of it, which was network engineering. And met a guy that just advised me to jump into CISS, to jump into information security that you want. The domain get into the security aspect of the domain and that will be your entry into information security. So I'm saying that just to encourage anyone in any IT field at the moment, even beyond IT field, business analysis, in project management. All you need to do at the moment, if you want to migrate into information security, is find the domain you know in the domain you presently work with in, or maybe what find the security aspect of it, master it, read about it, write exams if you have to, and that's your path into information security. Because that's what I did. So my first job, I got a network engineering security role in the UK. I think I came in April, October. I got my first job. I got my first job in network engineering and security. So the good aspect for me is I got the security added to the initial engineering network side I knew from Nigeria. So with that, I was able to start configuring firewalls and this thing like that. From there, my next job. Do you want to say
Yeah,
something to me?
yeah. Before you go ahead, I think you said
Yeah.
something now that is worth just talking to people about. So I don't know if
Mm.
you guys, and I don't want you guys to be confused because it's saying a whole lot of things within the security aspect. And but there's something that is resonating to me as Kola keeps talking is the fact that you might already have your own plan. You've created your plan that this is the path that you want to go, and you just have those sort of narrow scope. And sometimes you could just basically meet somebody else like he did, that actually then broadens your horizon and say, okay, because you already have some knowledge within this part, what you've learned within this domain is actually a transferable skill into a completely different domain. Not so different, but a broader domain that gives you much more opportunities. So this question is something that I know you guys have raised. Some people will say, oh, I'm into procurement. How can that transfer into this area of management? I'm into this and that. And the answer is always the same. The knowledge that you've learned is never lost. It's how you reuse those knowledge and go into more diverse areas that allow you to secure more opportunity, just like Kola has done. So he's gone from networking into information security, which is now broader because the networking aspect actually sits under it. So, Kola, if you carry on, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to reiterate what Tommy said, it's quite essential that you open your mind, have the right conversations and be able to engage the right people because actually, like she said, the opportunities are limitless, but only if you're able to apply the knowledge you have now. It's not a waste. It's transferable to any side of, especially in the tech world. It's quite, they're dynamic skills. They can be, easily transferred, migrated into something else and would serve your purpose. I think the bottom line for most of us is just, well, what is profitable, commercial enough, you know, to pay your bills, to live a comfortable life. And, the opportunities are endless in technology. Just to retrieve what she has said. So yeah, so that's how I got into information security. But I'm mindful to make you understand as well. The information security I got to at that point is only a single domain in information security because it's only network security. Yeah. But that was what opened my doors of opportunities for me to get into information security. So I've got a leg in now, and I need my full leg, and the second leg, I need my whole body in to be able to call myself an information security consultant today. So I started configuring firewalls, VPNs for organizations. I did SSL VPN where users terminate on this thing to be able to connect into the environment. I did side to side between two different offices, and I started broadening my logic from there. From there, my next job, because I only contract, so the next contract I got took me another step closer because I was now doing firewall assurance. So there are security tools that actually do a scan of different firewalls, tell you the loops, the rules that are not well configured, tells you the loopholes in that, does it, and that's another net. After then, the next role I got was a security analyst role. Excuse me. A security analyst role is a lot broader. It exposes you to different security tools, antivirus, anti-malware, firewalls as well, proxy, SIM tools. It now exposes me to the water. But again, just to put this into context, 2008, I wrote CISSP. I had no idea how good to get into that word. But I took the step just to have it, equip myself with the knowledge to keep furthering on. And my first security analyst role that would encompass everything and this thing, everything that did not happen till 2013. So there was 5 years wait for me being persistent, taking a single step at a time, reading, writing exam, focusing on what I'm doing, broadening my experience, my knowledge, reading where I could. So it took me 5 years to actually get my first leg into information security as it is today. So 2013, I got my first security analyst role, which is where I now had access to a SIM tool. I don't know how much you know about SIM tool, but it's just security event management tool, which aggregates different log sources and makes events allow to build use cases on them. And so those are proper information security now, getting much more technical. So I got into that 2013 security analysis. From there, I've moved from one stage, it was a bank. Then from there, I go into security operations, which is another aspect because this now has to do with writing run books, playbooks, processes, looking at risk management and things like that. Before I got to the stage I am today now, which is, almost 10 years later, I'm an information security consultant, work with like five, six, seven top banks in the UK, work with like two, three different sensitive UK organizations. I'm vetted to have access to sensitive documents and data from UK government for regulatory reasons as well, for different, financial regulators and things like that. Information I cannot disclose or share because of the sensitivity. But now I've just, moved across from just being a network engineer, and I've just, taken step of faith, writing exams, believing, trying to, do exams, take one step at a time, keep applying for new roles, and it's gotten me to where I am at the moment. That's my story. I've made it as brief and, as summarized as I can. If you have any questions or you want to know anything from my story, or just feel free to ask me. I'm more than willing to answer now.
As in, Kola, you mentioned quite a lot of things in there that I think, not even knowing the background of many of the people that are here, you touched on a whole lot of topics that many of them will be pondering about. One of it is the fact that right now we have a lot of people that they just want to get rich quick. And Kola has told you his story. It took him how many years? Did he tell you? Right now, from where he is to from where he started from to where he is now, it's taking him 10 years. Before he started to actually even make money from it, it took him like 3 years, before he actually then figured out. So, but everyone just feels like, oh, once you do this and bam, you start to make money immediately. It doesn't really work like that. You need to have the experience. And if you notice in his story, he never stopped working while he was trying to also gain more, to broaden his spectrum and to actually become a major security consultant. In order for him to be able to do that, he had to make sure that he was gaining experience. While he was doing this, he was still writing exams, was working. He never stopped working. While So there was really no break, and all the knowledge that he has taken from one organization to another, has gotten him to where he is right now. For you to be vetted to have to be able to handle sensitive information in the United Kingdom is a big deal, and it's not just anyone that can have that. And but for you to be able to have that, it means that you have been vetted. They know that you know your stuff and you can handle those sorts of details. So what I'm trying to tell you guys, and what our mentor is telling you guys this evening, you need to look at your own story from his story. What is going to be your own path? What are you willing to sacrifice? How do you want to commit to this path? Do you understand that it's not a get rich quick scheme? It's not something that you do, and once you now have that job, you sit down on the job and you don't try to develop yourself. You develop yourself in multiple ways. You develop yourself by applying yourself to the role in itself so that you can fully understand it in its broadness. And with that, you can then start to take in other steps, add something else to it that starts to elevate you. So you come in as a business analyst, for instance. Before you know what is happening, you are taking on roles as a scrum master, you are taking on roles as a delivery manager. Now you're beginning to understand all what it takes to actually fully run a full project. So I know we have some questions, and if you guys have more questions, please keep asking them on the Q&A. But I thought that that was very, very beautiful, Color, your story. Thanks for sharing it with us. I'll start to put on
Yeah,
the
Tommy, I want to add. I want to add something that you mentioned that I think I might have left out is the fact, like you mentioned very key point in especially for information security, because that's the field I am. It is very dynamic. It's dynamic. It's evolving. It is changing on a daily basis. I don't know how much you've seen in the news about information security, but it is changing. Again, let me paint the story, just a little, story, so you understand where I'm coming from. The whole essence of information security is to secure data in an environment, and it could be very sensitive. It could be financial data, trade, settlements that could, crash the stocks of the market, that could change, the value of, multi-billion investment and things like that. So it's sensitive. So while we are trying to do that in protecting it, the cyber criminals,
mm,
cyber criminals are quite a lot as well. So we're talking about, what we call Yahoo boys in Nigeria that just want money.
as
That's it.
mm,
That's a small part of the cyber criminals we're talking about. We try to secure against those ones. I think it's actually easy to secure against those ones. It's another story entirely. But there is something that is called state sponsored criminals. So when we talk about threat actors and we talk about state-sponsored criminals, we're talking about countries like North Korea, like Russia, that like
Sure.
Iran, that wants to get into public, infrastructure, want to get data, want to get intellectual property, wants to get money, wants to act into cryptocurrencies, wants to do things like that for the benefit of them. So when we talk about countries, you should know that one, they have limitless resources. It's a country, they've got millions of dollars to invest in technology, to invest in the right people, the right skills, to actually be able to hack into those environments. So it's changing. We're always on our toes. So it's, there's something we call threat intelligence again in cybersecurity, where, there's the dark world. There's a web, there's an internet that's different from the internet that all of us use. It's called the dark world,
Mm-hmm.
where credit cards are sold, where intelligence scripts, codes written by cyber criminals that can be run to exploit vulnerabilities are all written. So if you want to get into information security, a quick advice I will get you is if you think you write an exam, pass it, get your first job, and go to bed, then it's probably not a field for you. That's a very key point I want to add. It's always changing. You're always on your toes. You're reading. You're learning something new every day. So it's quite important, especially for information security that I'm speaking about. If you don't want to do the work, then you probably stick to whatever that you're doing now that will give you like this thing.
But
So it
really,
comes with a reward, but it
anything
is
in
a lot.
that is stable. There's really nothing. It changes so rapidly, so quickly, and but especially in
Yeah.
information security, like you said, the hackers are getting smarter. As you are
Yeah.
breaking them, they are
It's a
bringing
cat
on
and
new.
mouse game. Yes.
Exactly. So they too they have backers like you mentioned that are ready to sponsor them. Crack this thing. They crack that. You have to figure out how to unblock it again. It's just
Yeah.
if you are someone
It's
that is not
endless.
ready to go, to go to the ends, you would your skill will no longer be relevant. So you might be relevant today. In a few months' time, you might no
Yeah.
longer be relevant because something else now applies.
And I'm not trying to scare anybody away, just to be careful as well. I'm not a nerd myself. I'm a very social person. I go out, I do everything everybody do. I'm just saying, but you must just be dynamic, ready to learn new things, ready to adapt, and just keep learning.
Absolutely. So let's take on the first question. So this is from Faith Adiola. What is the most important aspect of information security when working for an organization?
So that's what makes information security actually a bit tricky. It's difficult to say one is. So we say
Mm,
something in information security. We say defense in depth, layered defense. So, like I've explained in terms of information security, while we use security tools, we use people, we use processes. Those are the three kinds of things we use in defense in terms of information security. So, if you can compromise our security tools, in fact, in terms of security tools, just our websites that are exposed to you for you to actually log in and do transactions with us, in that website, there will be a web application firewall. Yeah. There will be a firewall. There will be an external firewall. There's going to be like a reverse proxy. There's going to be an internal firewall. Yeah. There's now going to be, after all of this, is when you get to the web server itself. Yeah.
mm,
When you get to the web server itself, there's just the front end, which is the web server, segregated from the application server. Yeah. Then
yeah.
is the database that holds all our data. Yeah. So I've mentioned three different things. What I've not mentioned is the authentication mechanism, which is the identity asset, your
Mm,
username and password. Yeah. We have
yeah.
two-factor authentication. So you have a token to use. Yeah. Before you can even have those username and password, yeah, you've gone into our organization. We've vetted with maybe your passport and everything. We've created a username and password for you, only for you. We've segregated what you can have access to, which is just to your own account. There's our processes in terms of vetting before we are. So I've just mentioned off the top of my head, even not following our laid down procedures and protocols, of the number of tools and processes and guidelines we put in place before you can even just log in into our portal.
System.
to be able to do any transaction. So it's difficult to say one is much more important to the other because we use layered defense using those three key principles I mentioned: people, process, technology. And in
System.
that terms, everything has to be followed, everything has to be done properly. So you compromise one, you've got three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10 to compromise. It's not impossible. People do it. People that do it are people that have the resources, understand how we work, and they use people as well internally, insider threats, things like it's much more complicated. But I think you got my. It's difficult to say one more is much more important than the other. I think we just
Absolutely.
follow so many protocols. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think it also depends on the organization itself. So for them,
Mm,
it could be that, for some, how will I put it? So if you are looking at even data in itself, for some organization, is getting access to their system might not be the key problem. It could be something else that is a completely different problem. But like Kola mentioned, it's all about the procedure, the processes that are in place, the people that are, that are the gatekeepers of this, that are meant to ensure that those processes are followed, and the systems and tools that are used to be able to make sure that those are robust enough to fend for whatever level of attack and protect the system and the organization as much as possible. So let's put another question on board. So this is from Ishwa. What is your process for handling confidential information when working remotely? This is a good question.
If I understand this question, I'm thinking it's confidential information that I have access to while working remotely. So it's more or less, is someone talking?
No. So I think what he's
Okay.
saying
So,
is
yeah,
the information. So let's say he's working for an organization and he's working remotely, and their confidential
yeah.
information are going up and down. How do you secure it? How do you handle
So
that?
this, which is one of the, again, I'm mindful to not be able to, it's again, information for different organizations are sensitive and confidential in different, context. So there's one key thing in information security as well, which is risk management. How much is that information worth to the organization? Because when we discuss, putting controls or security measures into place to protect a, an information, then it will be down to the information might be worth, £1,000 to this organization. Mind you, we don't quantify risks in only monetary terms. It could be reputational damage, it could be, loss of trust, integrity, and stuff. And just for argument's sake, it might be worth £1,000. One thing we say is you don't want to be protecting £1,000 information with £10,000. It does not actually, it affects the bottom line of the company. Most companies exist, to make profit. So that does not make sense. So it depends on the information in context. But for normal distance, ways we protect it, especially in a, like a bank, a financial institution, is we use VDIs. So in that case, you cannot transfer any information from your PC. You can only see it on your screen while you're working. You cannot save it on your local PC. You cannot print it unless you take screenshots with phone. And that has come down to what I said, risk measurements as well. That is difficult to actually control. And for most organizations as well, when you're giving like a laptop or like an iPad, they give you like a screen cover that makes sure like unless someone is standing right behind you, they can actually not see your screen. So you protect information like that. Again, one of the key things we use in terms of confidential information working remotely as well is just education, awareness, and training in terms of how you handle information, where you're allowed to work. Like I said, to put into context as well, one of the organizations I work with, a government sensitive organization, I'm not allowed to work outside of the UK. I'm not allowed to take any of my devices out of the UK just because of the sensitivity of information on it. And that doesn't mean I work from home, I work remotely, but anything outside UK, I'm not allowed to take the device out. And that doesn't mean there's no encryption on the hard drive, there's no password, everything's still in place. But to mitigate or to reduce that risk faced, it is this thing. So education comes into play a lot, awareness, your organization knowing how critical the information you have access to, they restrict it, containerize it in like a virtual system, so you cannot take any of it up. You can't save it to your local disk. You can't print at home, but you're just able to have access to it, and you're not able to exfiltrate or anything like that. And you're not even allowed to send into your personal email addresses as well. If you do DLP, we pick it up and it will block it. And if it doesn't block it, you're going to get into trouble for trying to do that. I
Yeah,
hope I answered your question. I'm just making it as broad as possible, as I don't know. Information security is a bit technical in that way. So there's no one rule that covers for everything. It depends on measuring of the risk it poses, the confidential information, how sensitive, how do you work remotely? Do you have a company issued laptop, or is it just their personal laptop that you use to connect into your VDI? So it's quite complex in that sense. But I'm just making it as broad as possible so it captures and you understand the concept behind it, and not just
absolutely. And like you mentioned, with regards to that, so you know also it just depends on the organization that you're working for as well, and the level of
mm,
security, like you mentioned. And you have a lot of people that you've tried to bridge that. You think working from home means you can work from any country. Not necessarily in every single, depending on the company. That many people have lost their jobs because of that. You've taken your
yeah,
laptop outside. Once you log in, they know you have logged in a different place, and
yeah,
instantly you get a phone call, or and then you've lost your job. But then there are also, when it then comes to some smaller organizations, that might not be able to have all of those backing, and all of those the money to be able to hire someone like Kolade, for instance, to ensure that all of this security aspects is taken care of. There are other measures. There will still be internal procedures that you still need to follow, in sense that you don't just send sensitive data, because wherever you are, your IP as well is something that can be checked
yeah.
to understand what has happened. So it's just a matter of common sense, and also a matter of following the procedures, ensuring to know that whatever information you're dealing with, if it's confidential, then you know that you'll have a privilege of seeing it, and you don't pass it to someone that's outside the organization. So let's
Mm.
put another one on stage. So this is Kingsley. What are the certifications to acquire to become an employable information security specialist?
This is a very good question. I get asked this a lot, and one key way I would approach this is it depends on what you do at the moment. If you're in a particular part of IT, and you've got experience in that IT, like I said, I did in network engineering. I've done it for a while. I would say, do I do CISSP, Certified Information System Security Professional, CISSP. That's the one I did because I've been a network engineer. I'm in IT environment already, so it's easier for me to, understand the key concepts. I know what IP addresses are. I know what subnets are. So it's able to build on that because I'm already in the IT world. If you're not and you're fresh, you're probably coming from a non-technical, non-technology background. I would say do CompTIA Security Plus, because what that does, it's a level below CISSP, but it's going to expose you to different domain, in a much more friendlier way that you can easily understand, grab, and it will be a stepping stone for you. Maybe 3 4 years into your role, you can now write CISSP. 4 5 years later, you can now write CISM. But so if you're into IT already, tech world, and you've had experience in there, you can do CISSP. If you're new into technology world and you just want to start, do CompTIA Security Plus. I think any of those will get you going. Yeah.
All right, thanks for that. That's a very good answer. Um, then we'll take another one. So this is from Damola Awe. What are the preparatory course to take? I think it's the same thing. As a
Yeah, it's
person,
quite similar. It's just, yeah,
so yeah, so it's the
like a
same.
person pursuing a career, and yeah.
So
And
if you
I
think,
could only add one thing. So for some people, sorry to interrupt again. So for some people, their route is maybe doing a master's in, things like that. But I think the certifications are just more targeted towards it. I've not done a master's myself, so I don't have one. I still have my first degree from Lautech. and but just invested more in certifications, personal trainings, professional courses, and those are what have gotten me this far. For some other people, it's just doing masters. You can add CompTIA Security Plus or CISSP to that. Adding those together gives you edge as well in the market. Yeah.
So that's interesting. It's just different paths, different people. All you need to
Yeah.
know. All right. So thanks for the response on my question. Kingsley said, so you answered this question correctly. Thank you. Okay, so we have another one. So how can a UI UX designer enter information security or embed information security into his or her work?
I think
Hmm.
it's a conversation we can have between each other. You tell me what a UI UX designer does. I think that's user interface, user what?
User interface and user experience.
Understand no involve writing code, writing programming
Uh,
language.
Yeah,
Does
a
it?
little bit, not so much. So there are so many tools at the moment that has removed you writing those codes. So all you need to do is
Okay.
to understand what a user journey is going to be, fully understand
Okay.
what the requirement is. But while you are creating the UI, you have to think about security. So it's almost like how exactly will the user enter into the system? Is there going to be email verification? Is there going to be two-factor authentication? Then you
Okay. Cool. Cool.
those sorts of experience as well. And so at the end
Yeah.
of the day, the UI UX designer will come up with the first prototype before the developers now go in and start coding. But then if the UI UX designer does not fully understand or does not work with the business analyst to fully understand the security requirements, then they are going to develop rubbish.
So in answer, just based on your explanation, if I'm going to advise someone in that way, I'll just say, use the path of software development security because they're closer to that realm, closer to that domain. You write requirements on how is code, sorry, programmer or someone that writes software actually develops they write their codes and language or whatever it is. I would say they're much more closer to software development security, and it's a very, very good application security, software development security. It's actually a very good side of information security because it's not for someone like me. I've done assurance, I've done architecture engineering around it, but for someone that's a UI UX developer, used to be a programmer, because of his solid technical background, he would always have an edge over me, even though I've done it over for a few years because he understands it more. He's able to, how do I say it? He's able to actually picture those things and he will understand the intricacies more than someone like me. So I would say you have that kind of background, go into software development, security, application development, because you would just have an advantage. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing answer. Yeah, so it's just the same thing I was saying. Pretty much whatever you are learning, especially in this tech world, even if it's not even in the tech world, you are learning. The fact that you're waking up every day, learning something, you realize
Mm.
that many of the things that you're learning are actually an aspect of it is transferable, if not the whole aspect. And then if
Yeah.
you then get into an area that actually requires, like you mentioned now, like is like a software or an application security area, then you obviously have an edge over someone like him that is more proficient in the networking before he goes into security. So you would
Absolutely.
have those, and then you become like that's where it starts to become domain expert. But you must apply yourself into all of those areas for it to happen. It's not just because you have that, it just automatically happens. Do you get? Um, so there is another question. What do I need to do what do I need to be a well secured data management officer in Nigeria?
I think it's again, it's the same thing across board. Information security, data security is the same thing. Just I think you just what data are we talking about? Where does it reside? Which application is it? And just security. Is it is it on the cloud? Is it on prem? Is it on a database server? It's the same thing. It's the same concept. So all the courses, all the exams I've mentioned does not only apply to UK, it's just universal, it's global. Like I said, I wrote my CSSP in Nigeria. So the same things I've said, If you really just want to be secured, I don't know what exactly the data you're talking about. If it's tied to like payments, cards, there's PCI DSS. That's the exam that is targeted towards that. But to be broader and to be able to apply to PCI DSS, to regulatory data and stuff, I'll just say, if you have technical background, just go ahead and do your CISSP. If not, do CompTIA, then you're able to, broaden yourself and be able to be useful in different data protection.
Mm.
Unless there's a particular one targeting a particular data. If not, just
Okay, to add to that, Oluremi, so like Akola is mentioning, is there's no because we don't know exactly what data, but um it's still all about the people, process, and the systems. It's all about what are the procedures within your organization that you need to use in managing data. How do you transfer data from one place to another? What are the procedures that you need to take to do that? How do you ensure, So if you, as a data management officer, want to know that, okay, you want to understand exactly what is going on at every single time, then you just need to know what is going on within the industry. And so maybe by constantly educating yourself, it could be through continuous professional development, by writing exams that allows you to know what is happening, by constantly reading articles that are data related, that allows you to understand where you guys might have gaps within your organization that you want to add additional things to. And so those are things that are just jumping off on top of my own head that I feel like you can do to actually become a better data management officer. But if you want to go into security, then it's just looking at the data route into that as well. Because at the end of the day, what are we protecting is usually data. What type of data? And that is where your domain knowledge of that data type would supersede anybody
yeah.
else.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's a particular data management that you have in head and on top of your head, I'm happy to, send you data management framework that is probably regulatory compliant that is being used in the UK. I'm sure it's going to be relevant. Like PCI DSS will tell you when to encrypt, when to anonymize data, how to protect it in transit and processing, how to do all those kind of things. It's all detailed in their framework. And most of those frameworks are actually accessible on the internet. If not, if you're talking in general, then I would say just get into information security, write any of those exams, and he will give you how to protect data across board.
Fantastic. So, Kola, thanks for that. That's very kind of you. So, Oluremi, if you want him to send you those data management procedures, then please send us your email address. You can chat with me privately if you don't want to put it in the group, and then I'll get that across to our mentor so that he can send that to you, and that should probably help you in that sort of way. We have only just about a few more minutes before we round this up. So let me put this other question on board. I think it's let's see. As a data analyst, what professional course would be most suitable to further into information security?
I think it's just you're a data analyst already. I would think you have experience in IT doing that. Just try around on CISSP. It broadens your experience and you'll be able to do that. Because data analyst, you probably deal with a lot of SQL server, writing programs to extract data, to run reports, maybe BI, publishing, reporting, things like that. If you do that, that quite well, it sounds like you're quite, you know, grounded in your IT. And I would say just give CISSP a shot, exposes you to all other domains of information security, helps you to secure database management in your data analyst roles. And from there, switch to data security. And from there, you gradually creeping into information security, like I said, was a similar path to mine.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, so I think if there okay, so if there are no, I think I have another question. So what would you advise?
Okay.
Um, because a whole lot of, as you could hear, many of them many people are following the money. Let's just be honest. They are following the money. They are
Yeah.
basically trying to say what exactly is selling today. And most people will you go into university and what you studied in university is not exactly what you're doing. Or because
Yeah.
you see people study biology, and before you know what is happening, they are, they're data analysts doing something completely
Yeah.
different. So today, especially the way the tech world is going and is now a global market, from what would you advise people that are trying to, take their career to the next level, trying to set out and form out a career path? What would they, what are some nuggets or some a general advice, regardless of wherever they are within their career at the moment? What would you advise them to do so that they can stay at the top at every single time?
I think you've mentioned some of the key things that I would like to highlight here, especially some of the experiences I've had over time. I think the beauty about the tech world is your first degree doesn't matter. It's receptive to everybody. It's it's always changing. If you can do the hard work in terms of most of the materials and resources you need to actually choose a particular tech space, it's actually available on the internet. Most of you would do is, subscribe to like your own beautiful program, giving people the opportunity to be trained. You go onto YouTube, there's something to learn there. You go into Udemy, so if you combine all these resources, do the legwork, work hard, you have a fantastic opportunity to make it in tech world. But at the same time, as we're talking about tech world, it's it's a big market, it's competitive. So you only just don't have to do the bare minimum. You need to make yourself exceptional. You need to do so well that you will, be distinct in your own way. You need to know there's so many opportunities, there's so many people there, but more than enough for you if you've done the hard work, you've learned so well, and when you get in there, like you said initially in the beginning as well, you keep doing what you're doing, you keep improving yourself, applying, wisdom and things like that, speaking to people, seeking mentorship wherever it's needed, and just catch up with the vibes. The next good thing, get on it, do the hard work. I don't think you can be poor or broke in the tech world if you're diligent enough. I don't think so, unless
I,
you're not
I
ready to pay the price.
agree with you. I 100% agree with you. It's not, I think the tech profession is not a profession for the lazy person,
It's
because
not, no.
no, it's a dynamic profession. It's not
Yeah,
what you're meeting today. 5 years time, many things have changed. If
mm,
you don't do things on it, if you are not constantly seeking that experience and
yeah,
constantly, like you mentioned, seeking out, talking to other people, seeking mentorship,
yeah,
trying to
mm,
stand out. Is a whole lot of people. You're not the only ones in here trying to really
yeah.
understand. So many people are. And at the end of the day, it's just all about the people that are going to really, really excel at this. They have to
Yeah.
stand out one way or the other. So
And the internet has made it worse because it's a global
exactly,
market. So you don't even need to be in the UK to work in the UK. So it makes
exactly,
the pool of talent even wider, which means you have to work a lot hard, to work hard. So you
absolutely,
could have an edge to have,
yeah.
be distinct to be able to get the right roles. Yeah, but it's not
Which is
impossible.
what Tech1M is actually providing. Tech1M is basically we have created an AI talent matching algorithm that matches the talents to jobs, but this is globally. So how do you stand out? So that means companies can come in and find talent from whatever country you can be. So the opportunities are there, but how do you excel above the other person? And so
No, Tech
also,
1M is bridging
yeah,
that gap, and it's an opportunity we didn't have when we were starting out. What
mm,
you are doing is providing a platform that they're able to, bring their necessary skills, get mentors to speak to them, to encourage them. Like I said, when I wrote my CSSP, I had no one to talk to. I had no one to look at my CV. I had to just wing it. But you are able to link them with people that have been in the profession for 10, 15 years that could guide them, that could do things. So all is required from anyone interested is just to, apply yourself to the knowledge, do the hard work. It's never going to be a walk in the park, but it's not impossible. I'm not a nerd. I said that before. I'm not. I just do what I need to do so I'm able to, live the lifestyle I actually do desire for myself.
absolutely. And thank you so much, Kade, for joining us today. I know that today is Friday. You're not typically supposed to be at home today listening to coming here to talk to us.
The
But
work
here,
has to be done.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you are, paying it back and basically paying it forward to other people so that you guys can learn and I know for you guys that are here as well, you could be anywhere else. You could, but you've decided to commit your time to come in here and listen. And this is it. If you have the mentality to be curious, you have the mentality to always want to learn, and you are putting in all the hard work, you will always, always excel. So tomorrow we are bringing in another professional to be able to talk to you guys again. I don't know the exact time, but then everything is within the platform. So we are throwing that in there. And you guys, all the people we are bringing in here, there's none of them that has less than 10 years experience. So you need to come in and listen to them. If you have any question that you couldn't ask today, you want to ask Kolade more question. He's a very generous person. He will be able to help you as much as possible. So let us know, and then we'll pass on the information. Kolade is also going to be back with us in January and to give us, another sort of angle into what he's been up to. So thank you everyone for being here. Most especially, thank you, Kolade, for your time and for honoring our
It's
invitation when we asked.
it's an absolute pleasure. I'm happy to give back, to give forward, and just be able to help forging talents from wherever in the world. I'm delighted. Thanks for giving me the platform.
Oh, thank you. All right, guys. So have a lovely, lovely weekend. We'll see you guys tomorrow. For those of you that can make it, I think you should make it. And I'll be here. And thanks for everyone that joined in. And have a lovely night. See you guys soon. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Bye, guys. Bye. All the best.